his rubble after Israeli tanks shelled it. Al-Masri also lost much more than his house during last year's 50-day war. He also lost most of his family. These photos are all he has left of his wife, 3 sons, daughter-in-law, and grandson, who were all killed in an Israeli strike. Al-Masri says for the past year, he and the surviving members of his family have barely been able to make ends meet, and that Hamas, which controls Gaza, and Fatah, the party of Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, haven't done enough to improve things.
Hamas and Fatah are both too busy fighting each other than trying to help us. They only give money to their own supporters, but not the needy people. Only God can help us.
International donors, including the United States and Gulf countries, have pledged billions of dollars to rebuild Gaza, but Israel's siege, which has lasted for years, means badly needed construction materials like cement haven't been allowed in, despite offers by the United Nations to oversee the process. Israel's continuing blockade of Gaza means just 1% of reconstruction material needed for Gaza has been delivered. According to the United Nations, the influx of goods is so slow that it could take up to 30 years to rebuild. Which is why around 20,000 Palestinians now live in temporary shelters like these. Most don't have electricity or running water, and extended families often have to share just one room. As living conditions worsen, many here are becoming increasingly angry. Senior Hamas spokesman Ghazi Hamid says he understands the frustration.
I feel people are suffering, that's right. We have to do everything to help people. We have to do everything, for example, to open the crossings, to give a chance for the reconstruction. But as I said, this is now the mission of Hamas and Fatah in order to work together and to put all the differences behind their back.
That's small comfort to Abu Muhammad al-Masri. At 80 years old, he's now the main guardian of his 4 young grandsons after their parents were killed. He says he finds it difficult to worry for their futures when their lives now are so hard. Yeah, hi there, Doreen. Well, the situation here in Rafah is very much the same right across the Gaza Strip. Many people are have no choice but to shelter in what's left of their homes. In fact, let's take a look at where I am right now. There's a reason we're in this area of Rafah specifically. We came here shortly after a major Israeli bombardment of this area. In this area alone, over 40 people were killed. It followed the capture of an Israeli soldier by the various factions. You can see here how powerful the munitions that Israel used, that crater created by an Israeli airstrike. You also see children and families living in the rubble. That was the situation here in Rafah in the closing days of that 50-day conflict. Here we are 12 months later since the start of that war, and the situation for many is very bleak.
In your report, Imtiaz, you were talking about international aid that has not managed to get into the Gaza Strip. I know you've traveled around over the past 24 hours. You've spoken to people in Gaza. What are they telling you about how they feel about the international community's response and Israel's continued blockade of Gaza?
There's a lot of anger on the streets here. As you rightly mentioned, Gaza is under siege. Not only its land borders with Israel, its port is also controlled by Israel, and certainly its skies are controlled by Israel. But here in Rafah, this is also a very important area because this is the land border with Egypt. Egypt and Gaza share a border, and in the past, that border has been one of really the only ways people of Gaza have been able to leave here, to go and receive medical treatment, or to study abroad, or to get badly needed medicines and supplies that they cannot get here. But because relations between the Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Hamas are so poor that that crossing has remained closed, which means people here in Gaza for the past 12 months or so, in the ruins of their lives, have not been able to leave and continue to suffer.